Welcome back to our morning coffee time. How is everyone this morning? And how's everything looking and sounding? Okay, 2 thumbs up. That's good. So, I saw this morning before uh, before we went live here and setting things up that there's an extra talk today from Lumpur Viradamo at Tisarana Monastery. So, but it looks like a pre-recorded talk, so not a Zoom. So, and of course, as everyone knows, today we have the fourth talk in Ajahn Sona's series on the jhanas. So, and I see Dantika is here with us today. She's been doing a marvelous job. You guys should put a few claps into the chat for her. These have been beautiful, visually and audibly beautiful contemplations on these kind of teachings. So we really appreciate that. Let's see, I did a little screenshot. So we want to look for that today. Over on the Ajahn Sona channel. Hmm. So I see in the chat here, Greg from Portland put something up, question about, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for, Greg. It just says, yesterday you quoted the Metta. So maybe you can clarify that. I remember I was struggling to remember my own metta phrase that I had invented for myself, which is never a good sign. But it goes something like, wishing in gladness and in safety, may I be at ease. Whatever I am, however I am, may I be at ease. Even amidst anger and ill will, do no harm. So if that's what you're asking about, that's what I was trying to remember. So, and if I missed the point, maybe you can add some clarity there. Oh, I see. Here it is. I just need to scroll down. Yesterday you quoted the Metta Sutta, wherever I am, whoever I am. No, it's whoever I am, however I am, if I remember it right. And it's not there in any translation. But what I was trying to do was I was reflecting on the section in the Karaniya Metta Sutta that comes directly after the virtues. There's something like 15 virtues for the ideal practitioner, uh, that one should establish oneself in, and then following that, one gets the instruction, or the first part of the instruction, Sabbe Sata Sukhita. Uh, how's it go? Yeah. I'm no good at thinking about these things on the fly here, but uh, and what I was trying to do there was I was trying to simplify what the instructions are there. And there's a part in the instructions where you're considering all the different beings, whether small, medium, large, seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born. May all beings be at ease. And in an effort to sort of simplify that, and also to really kind of include myself, like as the launching point for cultivation of metta, I just thought, well, uh, whoever I am, however I am, may I be at ease. Because what we want to get at there is developing this state of mind unconditionally, regardless of all the differences, all the personality conditions, all the various conditions that could hang one up or cause us to withhold uh, loving kindness towards others, or the flip side, that might act as cause for us to harbor ill will towards others. So, whoever I am, however I am, and even in our very self, we seem to be many people, or at least that's my experience of it. So, based on all kinds of conditions, including what I'm engaged with, who I'm engaged with, what I'm doing. In some sense, when I'm with my mother and my family, I'm a son and a brother. When I'm here at the Hermitage, I'm a monk and the Ajahn. When I'm out working in the forest, I'm just a human being. Um, food for the mosquitoes and an annoyance to the yellow jackets. So, and all the various self-conceptions that we kind of go through, especially considering how difficult it can be for us to uh, generate a profound sense of well-wishing and goodwill and loving kindness for ourself, or some of the manifestations of self that we have to live with and we have to witness. So that's kind of that was my intention there, and that was the origins of why and how I came up with that language. Okay, let me catch up. Good morning, Jill. I live near downtown Portland, and through the night I hear explosions against the protesters. I feel intense anger and don't know how to take action. How do I use anger to act skillfully? Well, Jill, I would, I wouldn't encourage you to use the anger to act skillfully. I would encourage you to first remove the anger from your experience. So that's the most important, immediate, and skillful thing to do. And you might need to reflect, like, why is this anger provoking? Uh, and ask yourself, is is it really worth suffering over, in a sense? Like, what's your and I guess the answer is yes, sometimes for many people, and they have their various reasons, but uh, I think the most important thing is to see if you can deal with the anger, and it might mean thinking about it differently, not attending to it, and some of the ways that provoke anger, uh, and grow a sense of acceptance that this is a feature of human societies. It's not so easy for everyone to agree on everything and get along and make the changes that we feel need to be made sometimes. So anger might be natural, but it's never justified and it's never skillful. So I would do what you can to remove that. So I've seen videos of what's going on down there, and I think it'd be very challenging to live in your situation, so close to it. Um, and it's been going on for something like 50 days now. Good morning, Eleanor. Why did you become a monk? Could you one day do a morning talk about you and your path to Buddhism? Apologies if that's an inappropriate question. It's not an it's not an inappropriate question, and it's one of the questions I've been asked most in my life since becoming a monk some 26, 27 years ago. Uh, there's not many monks and nuns in this day and age, uh, especially in many parts of the world, and the ones that do exist are not all that visible. So it's a it's a curiosity for everyone. Even in Thailand, when people see a foreigner and my Caucasian race gives me away as not being Thai. So wandering around Thailand on Tudong, kind of constantly on display, and people want to know, how did this come to be? Where did you come from? Why is it that someone would leave America and come take up the life of a ascetic monastic and uh, and do this? The short answer is it was a progress. I was engaged early in my life in a progressive search for truth and happiness, and gravitated towards Eastern teachings. Eventually, finding my way to Theravada Buddhism, and that coincided with a period of my life where I really wanted to explore it quite deeply and was willing to take some time out to do so, and then discovered that opportunities existed to ordain temporarily in Thailand so that one can fully immerse oneself in study and practice. And I thought, great, that's let's take a couple years to do that and see where it goes. See if it works out. See if there's anything to it, and see if I have the capacity to make anything of it. And the entry was thrilling and wonderful, and fairly soon on, I had a sense that I wanted to make a deeper commitment, perhaps even a lifetime commitment to it. So then I made after the first stage of ordination, uh, I started thinking more seriously about spending at least 5 years or 7 years altogether training as a junior monk, and had the kind of sense that it would take that amount of time to really study Dhamma Vinaya and practice and go through some ups and downs and kind of get some sort of sense of my capacity to live the life in a good way and be happy for doing that, as opposed to doing other things with my life. So, and I happened to land in a very good monastery in the northeast of Thailand and got very good training, which at the time I didn't realize is how rare that is and how difficult it is to find such opportunities. So I feel just enormously grateful that I found my way to Wat Pananacha and the Ajahn Chah tradition, and Lumpur Pasano, who's the senior monk at our home monastery here in America of Abhayagiri Monastery, was the abbot at the time. So uh, I was thrice lucky. I found myself in an Ajahn Chah monastery, which turned out to be very good, and at Wat Nanachat, which was just the most excellent opportunity to study, train, ordain. And I was under the guidance of Lumpur Pasana, who's really one of the foremost Western disciples of Ajahn Chah, who's trained and taught many, many people. So that's the short story. I really should do like a video or a book or something. Every time I tell the story, it's a little bit different, but that's what stories are. Not that I'm trying to embellish, but one of the most popular books, I think, that was produced like early on when our Sangha started producing English language books was a book called Seeing the Way. And I think it's still available as a PDF if people want to look it up online, but it has a brief biography of a lot of the first generation, what I call the pioneer generation of non-Thai Ajahn Chah disciples. Most of them are from Western countries, England, America, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, but there was also a Japanese monk. Trying to think, there might be a Thai monk in there too, but I don't think so. I think it's just the foreign monks. And it's a really interesting book. It has like just a little one-page biography of of many of the earliest foreign disciples of Ajahn Chah, and then a little teaching of theirs, or a little reflection from each of them. And I think this is such a curious thing. Like, how is it that somebody comes to this teaching and this lifestyle, having been born in a different time, a different place, different culture? So, and there was an attempt to do a second version, or there was a second version done of that, done in a slightly different style. So I've often thought it would be a good project to update that, especially as many of the people in that book have gone through all kinds of transformations. Some of them didn't spend their whole life as monks. A couple of them now have passed away, and some of them have been monks and have done all kinds of marvelous and wondrous things over the decades. So be a good series to do, maybe. Instead of doing a book these days, we should do a series of interviews. put that up on YouTube. So good morning, Stan. Why should we accept authoritarianism and oppression? Uh, Depends what we mean by accept, but accept on one level because this is a feature of human societies. It's not a good one or a skillful one. And so I'm not advocating apathy and acceptance like, oh, well, there's a growth in an authoritarian, oppressive regime. Oh, well, let's do nothing. But one should not suffer it. So one should see it for the unskillful, whatever's unskillful in it, and the potential for harm and human suffering, and ask oneself, what's my role, or what can I do, or what can be done? But be very humble, because sometimes there's not a whole lot. We're not even in control, full control of this mind and this body. And as we move outwards into our relationships and our communities and the nation states and the world, we have even less control. So one needs to be very discerning and discriminating about what can be done, what one can contribute to countering any unskillfulness that exists in the world. But also one needs to balance that with a clear-sighted sense of the limitation. This is the human realm, and these things happen. And in some sense, they belong. Like, this is the nature of human societies. This too belongs in a sense of this happens. And to posit an alternate and very idealistic vision uh, for life on Earth and human societies is not wrong, as well as we like hold it appropriately, like understanding maybe the seeming impossibility of it, but seeing it as an expression of uh, the ideal of human societies and human skillfulness. And so, striving to work for that, but realizing that ultimately uh, it's not possible, especially not now. So, and I think it's intrinsic. Like, I don't imagine a time where we're living completely at peace, without war, without strife. Because when you reflect on the pernicious, the pernicious, not pernicious, pernicious quality of greed, hatred, and delusion, and how loath people are to really strike at the root and eradicate those defilements of heart. Most people don't spend much of their life trying to understand that in any great depth and putting forth the incredible work it takes to eradicate those tendencies from the human heart. And absent that, uh, these things happen. Absent that, these things belong, you could even say, because those are the conditions. Well, we can imagine something more Deva-like and more heavenly-like, where we only have very subtle forms of greed, hatred, and delusion, but that's not the human realm. So, hi, Kari. I'm new to practice and wonder if monks ever become politically involved as they did during the Vietnam War years. Black Lives Matter comes to mind. There's a strong tradition for monks not to be politically involved, dating back to the time of the Buddha. But a lot of time has passed since then and now, and there's incredible diversity in the Buddhist world. And so some monks do get involved in various things. Uh, I myself not completely clear of what role monks were playing in the Vietnam War years. I'm aware, of course, of somebody like Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a strong advocate for peace. Um, but I'm also, I've also read some stuff around what was happening in Vietnam even before the American involvement. And a lot of what was happening there was countering the persecution that Buddhists were experiencing under their government. So some of the imagery that people have seen from that era um, was not so much about the war that later we came to know, but um, protesting against horrible religious discrimination and oppression that was happening within Vietnam. So, but if you look to the suttas, the monastics are taking a step back from being a householder, and part of what it means to be a householder is to be a full citizen, in the sense that one is participating in all of the civic duties and everything like this. The monks are kind of stepping back from that for a number of reasons. One, so they can focus and deepen their focus on spiritual life, but they are homeless. They're moving around. They're not, especially in the earliest days, a sedentary or fixed full member of the community. I mean, they fit into the whole of society, but they're not like a resident of a particular village. And they might even be a resident of a particular state in the very earliest Buddhist times. And so it's, you know, it seems clear from studying the Vinaya and the suttas that it was deemed uh, inappropriate. And the sense in Thailand is that monks shouldn't be involved in politics. It's not to say that sometimes they don't get involved, and I've seen a trend towards that in the latest years, maybe the latest decade or more, as Thailand's had a very protracted political crisis for that time period. So, but I appreciate the fact that monks aren't involved for the most part in Thailand, especially forest monks, uh, because you see how easily it takes up all the air in the monastery. Politics is such a sticky game. Views and opinions, division, factionalism, and it's easy to destroy and squander all your time and energy that could have been invested in striking at something deeper and more fundamental, such as the eradication of greed, hatred, and delusion. So, and there's so little of that going on in the world that I think there is a place uh, for deep practice, a place for monasteries, a place for monks and nuns in the world to absent themselves from some of the political concerns and civic responsibilities that are rightfully held with a householder or an average citizen. So, and we strive to be politically neutral so that it doesn't compromise people's ability to draw near uh, the teachings and near the offerings that the Sangha kind of brings into the world and the communities which they live in relationship with. So, okay, I don't know how far I am behind here, but we're coming up on 8:30, so I'm going to maybe end with this one here. Scott, the knower of the worlds. So in our morning chanting, in the homage to the Buddha is said to be the knower of the worlds. What are the worlds? So I'm not sure of the exact Pali there, but my immediate kind of sense for what that's pointing to is probably cosmological, sort of like the Buddha understands like all the various realms of beings and existence. Because in some of the expressions of his enlightenment, um, he gains that kind of knowledge. So to me, the more interesting one is this world, this very fathom-long body, and the Buddha knows that and understands that. So, but okay, Dantaka's backing me up here. I think the worlds are the different realms. Yeah, I do think that's what it's pointing to. Yeah, Seeing the Way. It does have the Pacific Hermitage monks on the cover, the second volume, Seeing the Way 2, as they call it. So I was supposed to have a piece in there, but as it moved to publication, they were concerned about the length, and there was discussions about who to include and who not to include. And so, but Ajahn Munindo, who was the editor for that book, uh, liked this picture that we took in the very first summer that we were here in White Salmon, uh, up on the top of Burdoin Mountain. So that got used for the cover, um, which is fine by me. I'm not, I'm not all that interested in writing and editing a piece for a book. So, okay, I'm going to leave it at that. And if I didn't get to your questions, come back again tomorrow. Or maybe Tuesday, because tomorrow we're going to have Ajahn Sona if everything works out. So don't forget 1 p.m. Ajahn Sona's new video premieres, and then tomorrow at 8 a.m. with good fortune, we'll have him here on the morning coffee time to answer questions, and I hope it goes at least as well as it did last time. That was a real treat. So, okay, be well, friends, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.